Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in 25 degrees of Virgo, which will be exact on September 17th at 7 a.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, and at 12 p.m. London time. Now, of course, the new moon always marks the beginning of a new moon cycle. But in this case, it's not only the beginning of a new moon cycle, we also have a supermoon. And for those of you who watch my videos on a regular basis, you might have heard of a supermoon before. These occur when the moon becomes either full or new, doesn't matter which one it is, but it is at its closest distance to the Earth at the time of a new moon or full moon. So supermoons generate gravitational and electromagnetic forces because the moon is so much closer to the Earth. And so that increases the effects on our physical, mental, and emotional bodies. And so, of course, that facilitates greater shifts in consciousness. So supermoons can be a little bit more intense. So as best as you can, get really quiet around the time of the new moon and see if you're getting any new messages or ideas. And if you are, just fold them into your intentions that you set for the new moon cycle. And I will also talk a little bit more about the intention setting, new moon intention setting later in the forecast, and also give you the best and most potent times for setting them. So stay tuned for that. That comes later. First, I want to talk about more about the new moon chart. And also take advantage of the timestamps that I have added to the description part of the video underneath the video in case you want to watch the video in shorter sequences, or you want to skip to a later part in the video if you're already familiar with what Virgo is all about and you just want to hear about the aspects of the new moon. Feel free to skip right over that and go straight to the aspects. All right, so let's go back to the super new moon in Virgo. So this new moon has an abundance of planets in Earth signs, similar to the last full moon that was exact on September 2nd. We have the moon and the sun in Virgo, of course, with any new moon, the moon and the sun in the same sign, right? Then we have Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn, and we have Uranus in Taurus. So this means that our physical and structural realities and the sustainability of those realities takes the forefront both on an individual and collective level for this lunar months, for these next 28 days. So what you want to ask yourself here, is my current life in its form and how it's set up structurally sustainable as it is? And this is really important. This is a very important question, which we don't ask ourselves very often. But it's very important right now with so much in Earth, and especially with the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, we need to look for sustainability, individually and collectively speaking. Now, what if simplifying my life supported my current structures? And so this is what Virgo can add to the plate, right? Virgo can say, let's simplify this. Let's make this a little bit easier. Let's make this a little bit, there's less clutter or less stuff to think about. That's what Virgo is interested in simplifying things, decluttering things. So what if simplifying my life supported my current structures and my long-term structures? There are also 4 stationing planets in this new moon chart. There's Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, which are all stationing. And so this means that all 4 of these planets and their energies are exalted, which makes their vibration louder right now. And so something is in our face in relation to these energies for the next month. And that really demands our attention and our awareness. And so I will talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But first, let's look at the Virgo energy of this super new moon. And let's just see, what is Virgo all about? Now, Virgo provides an opportunity to learn about being of service and what it might mean to strengthen our focus on improving our daily routines. It's about getting organized, It's about taking care of health matters, right? Anything to do with health. Virgo is very interested in being there for the body and for the systems in the body. Now, this new moon cycle is also a great time to begin new projects that demand attention to detail, or that where we want to connect to more precise, something that brings more precision to something. Like we could make lists or spreadsheets, or we can take a look at what is part of something that works and what is part of something that doesn't work. We take tremendous pride in small accomplishments with Virgo, and we might start a new health regime. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to do that, but that's an option. That the Virgo energy definitely lends itself to that. We might be paying close attention to our diet. We also set up specific routines that help us manage our lives in a more constructive and mindful way. And that, has to do with work routines, but it also could have to do with routines at home, routines that we have with cooking, or that we have with stuff that we're doing out in the yard. Certain routines that we think might be helpful to make life a little bit easier for us right now. Now, this cycle is all about handling the nitty-gritty details of our day-to-day life in an organized, step-by-step fashion. So we can really free our minds from clutter, so we don't have to constantly think about, oh, this needs to get done, or this needs to get done. With Virgo, we're trying to establish a routine so that we don't have to think about it. It's like brushing our teeth, right? That's a very kind of Virgo thing to do, right? It's like making sure that we floss and brush our teeth. And it's something very small, but it's part of our routine. So where could you use more open space in your life? Because wherever we can create a routine, we create sort of like an opening where our mind doesn't have to think anymore in that matter. So where could we create some open space? Now, things that we want to watch out for with Virgo is sweating the details, worrying about things not being okay or right, being extra critical of ourselves and others when something doesn't get done right. Virgo has a very low tolerance for that. And then another great way to step into the higher vibration of Virgo would be to recognize as best as you can that humility, self-improvement, and being of service bring you closer to your inner divinity and to your soul's path and to your heart, right? To your heart space. So because Virgo is very mind-oriented, very analytical, it's important to remember that in order for us to keep reconnecting to our heart, we have to learn to be okay with, things not always being perfect. Learning that we're human beings, learning that, self-improvement or improvement of day-to-day routines is something that is a process. Now you can ask yourself, could I, as a spirit being, operate more efficiently in the physical world? Is that possible? Because, some of us are very good at operating in the physical world, and some of us are maybe less inclined to be super connected in a deep way with the physical, right? With our physical body, or with money, or with doing things in a timely manner. These are all things that are connected to the physical world, and some of us are just not that good at that stuff. So could I, as a spirit being, operate more effectively or efficiently in the physical world? Could I practice that, right? Now, might tweaking my daily routines help me function better in the physical world? And this is something to experiment with, right? To just kind of see, like, if I tweak here or if I tweak there, like, would that help me, to do better every day? And then might that also support me in being of service? If I, tweaked my daily routines a little bit here and there and functioned a little bit better in the physical world, would that support me in being of service to other people, to the world? And what benefits might I reap if I could better discern between the essential and the redundant? And of course, that's a real gift, right? If you're capable of just going like this is important, this not, this is good, this is what I need, this is what I don't need. If you're able to do that, life becomes a little bit easier and a little bit more manageable, right? If you're good at separating out what's important and what isn't, what works and what doesn't work, right? It's a very Virgo thing. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. Now, if you want to have access to the new moon questions from this video in writing and to the full moon videos every month, feel free to check out my memberships. There's currently I have 2 memberships, Universal and Star membership, and those are available on my website at astrologercoach.com. So feel free to take a look at that. And if you're already a member, check your membership portal by signing into your account via the computer or via your phone, and you will find all my posts inside the My Content tab. All right. Now, the new moon questions are going to be available via the New Moon in Virgo article by September 12th, the very latest. Probably already on the 11th, but just to be safe, I'm going to say September 12th. All right. Now, since the new moon in Virgo trines Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, both of which are exalted at the time of the new moon, Saturn and Pluto, right? They're both vibrating much stronger at the time of the new moon. Here's what we can ask ourselves. How might taking a practical approach to our daily routines serve the long-term vision of ourselves individually and collectively? And what if we applied that same approach to health-related routines? And what could we achieve if we brought 5% more humility to our long-term plans? So when we're thinking long-term, how can we kind of be a little bit more open-hearted and a little bit more, allowing ourselves to be human, humility, right? It has almost the word human in it, right? So we have to understand humility means to give yourself a break and say, I'm human, I'm doing the best I can, and that's all I can ever do. So we want to try and bring humility to the long-term, to our long-term plans, and not pretending that we know everything and that we're good at everything, because that's just not true. We might be good at certain things, we might be good at a lot of things, but it still doesn't mean that we're good at everything, and it still doesn't mean that every moment of now is always going to be exactly what we need so that we can apply everything that we already know. So it's important to just understand that life changes all the time. Situations change all the time. So even if you think you knew something, a week ago or a month ago or 6 months ago, today might be different. Today, whatever you knew 6 months ago might not apply right now. So we got to approach our long-term plans with humility. Now, Virgo and Capricorn are both earth signs, right? Like I mentioned earlier. So getting down to business and focusing on the task at hand is definitely going to take a little bit less effort than normal, because when you bring 2 earth signs together, they tend to harmonize, and it tends to be a little bit easier. We're more capable than normal of looking at the details and focusing on what's sitting right in front of us that demands to be taken care of, so we can get to the next phase of accomplishment. So we're really invited to look at all the practical implications we need. We're invited to look at all the practical implications of things. And so we need to slow down and take our time if we want to manifest something that can stand the test of time. Because rushing things will most likely backfire right now. Now, commitments and discipline are the keys to understanding our purpose right now. And we face life on life's terms right now, and we definitely feel up for it. We're feeling a little bit more grounded and realistic about things. So we're like, okay, I got this, I can do it. So ask yourself, where might a deepening of my understanding of my own motivations lead me? And so this is connected to the Pluto energy, because Pluto is also in Capricorn. So we're going to bring a deepening to whatever it is that we're doing on a physical level right now, that we're trying to establish in terms of our routines, in terms of our long-term goals. So where might a deepening of my understanding of my own motivations lead me? And what in my life needs to transform? And in particular, so that I can feel, empowered in my life, in my work, in my career, in my long-term goals. And what could I strip away that is no longer connected with who I am now? So with Pluto, there's always this sense of like needing to strip something away, needing to go deeper and let go or discard the things that are toxic in our lives. So what could I strip away that is no longer connected with who I am now and what I want to create long term as well? And what fears and attachments could I now release that no longer serve my evolution? What fears and attachments could I now release that no longer serve my evolution? And am I willing to let them go just for now and just as best as I can? So with fears and attachments, that can be quite challenging sometimes, right? To let them go, because very often the mind thinks by holding on to our fears and attachments, we stay safe. But actually, it's the opposite is true. You're much more safe when you let them go. When you hold on to them, you actually have a tendency to create the fears that you're seeking to avoid. So it is much better to let go of them. So if the mind tells you, no, I can't let go of that. I can't. This is too scary, or this doesn't feel safe, right? Just tell yourself, it's okay. I am safe right now. So I can open my heart. I can trust. I know that the best and highest interest of mine is always in place by the universe. And so I am giving it over. I'm giving it over to my higher self. I'm giving it over to the universe. I'm giving all my fears and all my attachments over to something higher. And that can help with letting it go. So also asking the question, am I willing to let go just for now and just as best as I can also be really helpful. All right, now the new moon also squares the current moon nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius, which means we are collectively at a crossroads. We are being asked to take a 90-degree turn to gain new perspectives, to explore different avenues leading to different outcomes, and especially in regards to our health routines and daily well-being. And so this could be a really good thing, that we're looking more precisely into like what keeps us healthy, individually speaking and collectively speaking, and how can we create better well-being. Well-being is not just avoiding a virus, right? Well-being includes the whole system. And the body system is connected to our emotional system. It's connected to our mental, spiritual system. So all of that, they're all connected, and Virgo understands that. Virgo knows that everything is connected in that way, that the details or the little things are interconnected with each other and operate with each other in unison. And so we really want to explore that, what is well-being for ourselves? So ask yourself, what beliefs are holding me back from living a healthy life? And what do I need to implement in my daily routines so I can be healthy and happy? And that could be a lot of, and again, remember, Virgo is about the small stuff, right? It's about the little things. So that could be, the answer to that question could be some very small adjustments or some very small things that we change or that we implement that could make us way healthier and way happier? And could I be open to shifting my perception? And where have I made assumptions around what it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to look like? How am I supposed to, deal with whatever's currently going on in the world? And which one of my filters would I do without for a while, just as an exercise in freedom? And this question refers to, that we all have our filters, right? We all have mental, emotional filters that, or spiritual filters even, that help us understand a little bit better, how we interact with the world or in what fashion we would. And these filters come from our conditioning. They come from our cultural conditioning. They come from our parental conditioning. They come from our, from our peers, from wherever we grew up, how we grew up, as what we grew up, right? Like whether you're a male or female makes a difference. Whether you are, different cultural background makes a difference. Whether you have different sexual preferences, that makes a difference. These are all filters that we have, right? So which one of my filters could I do without for a while, just as an exercise in freedom? And how might a good dose of discernment serve me right now? A good dose of discernment. And discernment is very important. Discernment is something that's connected to the now moment. What is so now? What is working for me right now? It's not about conditioning. It's not about filters. It's not about our cultural story. It is about checking in with ourselves, with our physical body, with our emotional body, with our mental and spiritual body, and to just see what's working for me and how is it working for me and how is it making me feel. Now, last but not least, the new moon also quincunxes Mars in Aries. So Mars in Aries is also exalted at the time of the new moon. So this definitely calls for some inner adjustments. And because Mars is so strong, we might feel the Martian energy a little bit more intensely. There's maybe more impatience, maybe more impulsivity. We're invited to develop inner awareness around two very different urges. On the one hand, we have a desire to engage in personal passion projects and cover new ground really fast. On the other hand, we have the need to tend to our daily routines, observing what works and what doesn't, right? As well as being of service to others. So you can see how, one is really more of an inner introspective energy, like looking to see like what's working, what's not working with ourselves, maybe also with others, but it is more of an introspective place, Virgo, right? Whereas Aries is much more external. It's more physical, it's more external, and it's more moving outwards, right? The energy moves outward, whereas with Virgo, the energy moves more inward, and there's more of a contemplation, more of a mental processing. So ask yourself with this aspect, with this Mars quincunx to the new moon, am I overanalyzing things? Which that could happen with Virgo, right? Am I being too impulsive or impatient? That could happen with Mars in Aries, especially since it's stationing and retrograde right now. And what might need simplifying in my life so I can take the next step forward? Now, a quincunx between Aries and Virgo can also indicate a health aspect. So ask yourself, where do I need to make adjustments so my body doesn't experience burnout? Because with Mars in Aries, with it being stationing in retrograde, there might be a lot of restless energy inside of us, or a lot of energy inside of us. And sometimes we don't notice when we're moving so fast and we're doing so much, we don't notice necessarily that there's a burnout coming. So where do I need to make some adjustments so my body doesn't experience burnout? And what needs my discernment or even my careful evaluation so I can move forward with vigor and passion? Because the vigor and passion is that Mars energy, but in order to connect to that Mars energy, we need to also be discerning and careful in our evaluation of things. What's maybe too impulsive, or what's maybe too fast? Where are we moving too fast? So with a lot of Mars aspects, especially with stationing planets, we want to stay as open and observant as we possibly can. So especially since Mars is so strong in the sky right now and retrograde. So just do your best, as best as you can. Stay open and observant. Now, Mercury, which is the ruler of Virgo, is currently in Libra, and it makes a square to Jupiter in Capricorn and a quincunx to Neptune in Pisces. So let's unpack all of that. So the square to Jupiter is an invitation to bring expansion and new perspectives to our interactions with other people. Because Jupiter and Mars are both exalted right now, impatience might be a given, but moving faster or doing more is not necessarily better in this case. So we want to watch out for that. How are we overdoing things? So ask yourself, what have I learned in the last 4 months about my abilities and limitations? And how can I apply that knowledge to my interactions with others at this time? And what if I slowed down just 5% when connecting with others so I can practice listening 5% more? So again, it's all about learning to slow down, even though we feel very much like we need to speed up, but we actually want to slow down. So it's a little bit of an oxymoron here. Now, what might be possible in my collaborations with others if I was 5% more aware of my assumptions in that moment? So Mercury is in Libra, right? So it's all about collaboration. It's all about connecting and taking a look at how can we make it work with other people in a harmonious way. And so because of that, and Jupiter squaring that Mercury alignment, that Mercury placement, we want to take a look at our assumptions that we're having, in every moment of where we're collaborating or connecting. Because assumptions can really kill collaborations. They can really create suffering in our relationships. So assumptions is something we want to be we want to pay attention to our assumptions. We want to be very conscious about them. Now, the quincunx that Mercury is making to Neptune in Pisces, that indicates some inner struggles or adjustments that need to be made. We may feel confused at times because we're feeling sort of like an internal pull in two different directions. One of them is that we want to go within and slow things down and get quiet. And then, of course, on the other hand, with Mercury in Libra, we're seeking to connect with others. And so there's some kind of inner transformation that we're wanting to achieve here. So ask yourself, what am I sensing? What am I intuiting? And where does the inner experience of love and connectedness meet the outer? So, with Neptune in Pisces, there's always this sense that we want to connect internally, that we want to get more in touch with our feeling body, with our sensing body, with our ability to love all there is. With Mercury in Libra, that's more of a cerebral energy, right? It's more cerebral, so it's more connected to the outside world. It's more connected to our ideals, how we want to connect to others. Doesn't necessarily mean that we are actually doing it in that manner, but it's our ideal of wanting to connect in that way, harmoniously, win-win. Everyone's equal. These are very beautiful thoughts, but they're idealistic thoughts. The reality doesn't always look that way. So where does the inner experience of love and connectedness meet the outer experience of what's actually going on? And what do I currently experience in my relationships that doesn't seem to be a good fit with my ideals, with my dreams, and my fantasies that I have about life? And in particular, wherever you have Pisces in your chart, where does that currently not match up? And how could I learn more about collaboration? What calls out to be communicated in my relationships? And where might I be avoiding communications like that? Because we might know that we need to communicate certain things, but we might not want to communicate them necessarily because it might break harmony, or it might mean that we don't get the other person's approval, or it might mean that we can't maintain a certain balance in our lives if we say something to somebody else. So could I give myself some space, some time and love around all of this? And that's really important. Could I give myself some space, time, and love around all of this? Now, the last aspect I want to talk about is Venus in Leo is squaring Uranus in Taurus. So this indicates that priorities are shifting for us right now, and that we may feel uneasy or uncomfortable around others. We may also struggle to reconcile freedom with material safety. And this could also show up as fears around financial goals. So anybody who's currently dealing with any kind of financial issues, there's definitely going to be this sense that you feel a lot of uncertainty with this aspect, and that it might feel uncomfortable, and there might be some stress or some anxiety that might show up around that. And it is best for us to look long and hard before we leap into any financial decisions right now. So if there's anything really important, any financial important decisions that you need to be making right now, see if you can maybe hold off a little bit before making them. Maybe see if there's anything that needs adjusting first before you can decide on how or what you want to do with it. And one thing I would say with a square like that too is, because we feel anxious, there's a tendency to jump before we actually know everything that we need to know. So see if you can take your time. Don't do anything impulsive, or don't do anything out of fear, right? Feel into your feeling body and see, is this coming from fear, what I'm doing? Or is this coming from a place of intuition? And just remember that intuition is never loud and insistent. That's fear. Intuition is always subtle and kind and loving. And it's neutral. Usually, intuition is not something, it's very sort of like even paced or zen. It's very much like, it just kind of shows up and goes, here, how about this, right? That's intuition. Whereas fear is a little bit more like, hey, you got to do this. Or, hey, this is not right. This can't be, so it's a little bit louder and it's a little bit more insistent, fear, right? So we kind of, that's how we can distinguish between sort of like a fearful place and an intuitive place. So just pay attention to that. Now ask yourself, could I give myself 5% more space when it comes to relationships with others? Because this might also show up in our relationships with other people. So it might not necessarily be a financial issue. It might also be something in terms of other people that we're engaging with. So could I give myself 5% more space when it comes to relationships with others, my relationship with myself, and my relationship with money? Now, how might flexibility and creative solutions support me when things take a different or unexpected turn? And this is something we have to remember with Uranus, right? Uranus often is unexpected, right? Something happens that we didn't expect to happen. And so when that does happen, whatever that is, we want to stay flexible. We want to look to see, like, how can I adjust here? How can I be creative here and see if I can do something different with whatever I was handed right now? And could I keep my mind and heart 5% more open no matter what happens? And that's always a good idea. When something unexpected happens that you didn't know was going to happen and you don't know how to deal with it, keep your mind and heart open as much as possible, even if it's just 5% more than what you normally would be able to do. Now, to sum it all up for this super new moon, there is a message here with the super new moon, and it invites us to assess the quality of our lives in all areas. And it really spotlights how less can be more. For example, when it comes to clutter, when it comes to us being really busy and stressed, and how this translates into a more satisfying and meaningful life long term, if we're able to do that, right? If we can get rid of clutter, if we can get rid of busyness, like just meaningless busyness, if we can get rid of stress in our lives. I mean, can you imagine the well-being that we would all have on this planet if those were the things that we could actually accomplish? I mean, it would be incredible. But since we can't do it for everybody, but we can do it for ourselves, right? So that's also important, is focus on yourself and focus on being mindful, dedicate yourself to what's important with compassion in your heart, and remember that perfection is not a goal. It is a journey. It's definitely a journey, and we're all doing the best we can, all of us. So if you're seeing something out there in the world that doesn't look perfect to you, just remember, whoever is doing it or whoever is presenting it, they're doing the best they can with the abilities that they currently have. Everyone's evolving, everyone's growing, so we can't expect everybody to be at the same level as we are with certain things, and we can't expect of ourselves to be at the same level as other people are. We're all growing and learning, right? So it's a journey, it's a process. So ask yourself, what if I favored progress over perfection? And how could I release old dogmas, old beliefs, right, that I've been stuck in for a while? What if I discerned what's truly important to me and focused there for my own improvements? So rather than focusing on other people and focusing on what they need to improve, and this is also true for spouses and children and parents and people in your family, right? What if you could just discern to what's truly important to yourself and focused on that for improvements? And how do I communicate my thoughts and findings to others? So if you have done that and you want to maybe share that with other people and support other people in that way and say, hey, listen, I did this and this really worked for me pretty well. Maybe you could share that with other people. And just remember, you don't want to be attached to other people doing what you're doing, because everyone needs to do their own thing, and everybody has their own path. So what works for you might not necessarily work for somebody else. But sharing your own experience, sharing your own thoughts, communicating what works for you can definitely help somebody. May not help everybody, and maybe it won't help the person that you want it to help, but it will help somebody. So just allow yourself to share and just leave it open and end it. Leave it open-ended without attachment. Now, the last question you can ask yourself here is, could I bring 5% more maturity and responsibility to the table when being of service to others? And that's, of course, something that is definitely something we want to practice right now because of all the Capricorn planets and because they're exalted right now. So we definitely want to practice bringing maturity and responsibility to everything that we're doing right now, to everything that we're engaging with other people right now, and also in our own lives with ourselves. Now, when life speeds up or it slows down or it becomes uncomfortable, to whatever degree you're experiencing things right now, just simplify and be patient. We are changing and growing in ways that we can't comprehend right now. And so we need to give ourselves a little bit of slack. We need to allow ourselves to be human and have the humility to admit that we're not perfect. So if you have an ascendant or any personal planets in 23 to 27 degrees of Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, or Sagittarius, then this new moon is definitely going to impact you more than other people. But I want to also invite you to take a look at your natal chart, your birth chart, if you have one, and look to see where is 25 degrees of Virgo. Where does that land in your birth chart? Because wherever it lands in your birth chart, that house placement of the new moon indicates which area of your life will be most impacted for the next 28 days. Now, if you don't know how to look that up, or if you don't know how to get a birth chart for yourself, please feel free to also check out my 30-minute class on how to read my birth chart. You can get free access to that class via my homepage at astrologercoach.com. If you just scroll down on my homepage all the way down to, there's going to be a window that says free class. You click on that window and it will take you to that 30-minute class to watch. All right. Now, before we talk about setting intentions and the best and most potent time to do that, I just want to briefly mention the next forecasting forum that I will do online, which will be on October 4th. And for those of you who are not familiar with my forums, it's a 90 plus minute webinar that I conduct every month. It is interactive. You can ask me questions about your birth chart, and we also look at our own charts in relationship to what's coming up in October, which will be the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. It starts on October 13th. We will also talk about the station phases that happen right before Mercury goes retrograde. And so if you want to take a look at that for yourself with your own chart to see how this is going to impact you personally, feel free to join us live, or you can also get an MP4 video presentation from the webinar if you can't join live that day. There's also an early bird special available until October 1st at midnight Eastern Time. And there's another neat bonus for those of you who are currently not members of my online community. When you register, you also get access to the next members full moon video. So that's something that you might want to consider as well. So if you want to join live, or if you want to register for the video presentation, for the video recording, just click on the link below this video. I will have something there for you so you can do that pretty easily. And then also, as a reminder to all my star members of my online community, you are automatically registered and you will receive emails the day before and the day of the webinar to be invited to join live. If you're not receiving these emails, please let me know right away. And you'll also receive another email with a link to the video replay of the forum within 24 hours of the live event. Again, if you're not receiving those emails, they might be landing in your junk mail, or for some reason, I don't know, something might have happened. Maybe your email server rejected the email. But just let me know if you're not receiving it. I will resend it to you. Okay? Now, let's talk about setting intentions. The new moon is also the best time to set some intentions for this month's lunar cycle. And as always, the best time for setting intentions is soon after the new moon becomes exact, and definitely not during a moon void of course phase. So this month, the best and most potent time to set intentions would be between 7 a.m. and 7:42 a.m. on September 17th. So that's only 42 minutes long on that day. And then there will be a moon void, of course, at 7:42 a.m. until 2:56 p.m. on September 17th. So you can start setting intentions again at 2:56 p.m. when the moon void, of course, ends, until 7 a.m. on September 19th. So there's a bit of a longer period of setting intentions where you can set intentions after 2:56 p.m. on September 17th. All of these times are New York time, Eastern Daylight Savings Time on the East Coast in the US. So if you live in a different time zone than US East Coast time, feel free to join me on my Facebook fan page or follow me on Twitter. I will be posting reminders on September 17th and 18th throughout the day, and also on September 19th in the morning, to let you know when it is time to set your intentions. So you don't have to convert into your own time zone if you don't want to do that. You can just kind of look at my posts that pop up on Twitter and Facebook, and then you'll know exactly when to set your intentions. It will be like, now is the time to set intentions. All right, then for more information about setting intentions, feel free to go to my website, go to my blog page, and then look for astrology articles, or look for the tag New Moon Intentions on the right-hand side of the blog page. I will also have a link below this video that we can click on to get straight to that page where I talk about setting intentions for the new moon. All right, now to sign up for my free monthly newsletter, you can also do that on my homepage at astrologercoach.com, or you can email me at info@astrologercoach.com and just write newsletter in the subject line, and then I will send you my newsletter with the new moon videos, announcements about webinars and courses, special offers that I might have months to months. There might be different things that might show up. So that's what you get with the newsletter. It does get sent out once or twice a month, depending on what's going on each month. Now, if you have any general questions for me about astrology, about the new moon, feel free to reach out to me at any time, info@astrologercoach.com. And if you have any personal questions that require of me to pull up your birth chart, I will ask you to book a reading at astrologercoach.com via my services page. If you have any questions that are connected to what's coming up within the next 30 to 40 days, then you can also just join the monthly forecasting forum on October 4th. That way you can get those questions answered. And again, we will focus on the upcoming Mercury retrograde phase in Scorpio, and as well as the station phases on October 4th. So if you have any questions about that, that's the best time to ask them. Now, my members will see me again in 2 weeks around the time of the full moon, so we can take a look at how far we've come since setting our new moon intentions. Everyone else, we'll see each other again in 4 weeks from now with the next new moon. But however, feel free to watch out for my additional support videos that I'm doing for 2020 right now. They will be available on my website, via YouTube, and also via my Facebook fan page. All right, stay healthy. Do your best to keep raising your own frequencies. Be really conscious of where you're at. Take care of your own well-being as much as possible. Much love to you all. And I'm Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.